Node alert. Node alert.
All right, folks. Welcome to the January edition of Four Letter Nerds. I am Dan Parkhurst.
Amy Sanderson here.
Maren, Ayres.
Liam Dennis.
Brian Smith.
And we are Four Letter Nerds. Today we're gonna take a look at the state of science fiction. That's it. All right. Good night.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Science fiction is I think gravitated to by lots of nerds because it tends to deal with sort of heady issues and stuff that people that are marginalized, like nerds have been for a long time, can gravitate to and sort of understand.
Gravitate. Nerd. Gravity.
Oh, we can talk about gravity and how bad the science was in that. No, we won't do that. So basically, the question sci-fi asks is, what does it mean to be human? Like, what makes you human? And they tend to explore that by using clones and robots and just kind of take a look at how it is that we, as people, identify ourselves. And why it is that we tend to treat other people who are different in any sort of way to be less than or not as human or as important. So in looking at that, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, Star Wars just came out. I would argue that Star Wars is not a science fiction thing at all.
It's more fantasy.
It's more fantasy. Yeah. And that's fine. But it doesn't really ask those questions. It's usually about people, characters going on a hero's journey, which is definitely very fantasy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there are tons of science fiction properties that are kind of coming up now because the way that we do special effects has changed and improved so much that we can see cool stuff that would usually only end up in a writer's head and show up on a page in a book, and you can now see that kind of stuff on television or in movies. Because technology has improved so much that we're able to see some cool stuff. So in looking at that, there's in seeing Star Wars this last week, we saw some trailers, and one of the trailers we saw was for Independence Day, the Independence Day sequel.
Jeff Goldblum.
Now that's kind of a sci-fi action movie.
The Fifth Wave as well.
The Fifth Wave. The Fifth Wave looks terrible.
Yeah,
it does. It really does.
Bad.
At first, I'm like, okay, and then by the end of the trailer, I'm like,
it's another movie about humanity trying to survive, kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's about humanity. So my question is Independence Day, being that it has to do with aliens and stuff, is it really a science fiction? Like think back to the original Independence Day. Is that really science fiction? You have aliens coming to Earth and trying to exterminate us, but does it really ask any questions? We
didn't really learn anything about the alien culture. They just were going to destroy. I really wish I could think of the name of the movie right now, because when you asked that, I thought of this movie. It's the one where the basically the aliens become stranded, and they are on our planet, and they kind of have
Aliens
this.
vs. Predators 2?
E.T.?
No.
Go
District
away.
9.
No.
Thank you.
District
9 is amazing for that.
Honestly, I thought you were talking about that DreamWorks cartoon, animated series show. I forgot what it's called too. But, that were aliens. They come
Is it Home?
No, I forgot. I forgot what it's called. No.
Okay.
I just remember it had a big monster lady in the movie too.
Okay,
I'm gonna stop talking.
No, it's okay. I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't.
Robot.
Yeah.
Stop.
Okay, so we mentioned E.T. Does E.T. ask that question?
Yeah, ET makes you actually care about ET like he's an actual person.
Yeah, exactly. Like we tend to anthropomorphize. We tend to put human characteristics onto things. It's why people fucking love R2D2 and BB-8 now, because of the little things. And one of the things we failed to mention was in the last podcast was BB-8 giving a little thumbs up with the
lighter,
which was awesome.
It was a beautiful moment.
Everybody laughed about that, but in doing that, like, things like that are kind of given sort of human characteristics, and E.T. definitely has that.
Not only that, but like the fact that you see E.T. as kind of like one of us, or like he has a lot of feelings and connections to us. But the way that humans react to him and like basically the government and like the way they just kind of seclude him and he's like sick and going through the whole process, it kind of makes us rethink about what we deal with things that are different and creatures that are different and how we have to seclude them and understand them in a way to try to make them more like us or understand how they're like us or not like us versus just accepting them for what they are.
Yeah. So I mean, in that sense, there are a number of movies that kind of deal with, or stories just kind of deal with the way we mistreat or treat other people just through the guise of aliens or clones and stuff. And District 9 is definitely one of them because they're all sent off into ghettos essentially, and are kind of treated like trash, even though they're basically just refugees. Like, and and the shitty thing is that still happens in America. Like, we don't want to take in refugees from other places, and you're just like, really?
We don't see them as, I mean, District 9, they're not human, but like they're basically representing what we would do if they were human. Yeah. With our own culture, just now, like we don't see them as people. We see them as strangers and as a threat only because we don't understand them. They're different than us in a very minor way, but anything that's different is scary, and so we just want to push it away or like make it so it's not in our eyes every day.
Yeah. And Independence Day, we just want to, fight the aliens. Like they want to kill us and we just want to kill them. We don't learn anything about them. It's kind of a xenophobic film. Sort of how, I guess, Donald Trump and people like that refer to Syrians and Muslims, and that we should basically deport all Muslims, even if they're American and things like that, totally dehumanizing an entire culture of people.
Yeah, and that's the X-Men does that. That's the whole idea of X-Men is that you have these mutants come in and they're treated like they're treated with fear because they're different. Because they may be more powerful.
From the beginning, it's supposed to be diversity story, very much inspired by like civil rights movement and other things that were going on at the time when that first started coming out. You know?
And now X-Men is so much more universal, and it's a lot more. And Bryan Singer being a gay man, and bringing a lot of gay actors into those movies, it's played up to be sort of an analogy for gay rights right now, which is great.
Which is really important. And then they also touch on things like HIV, like having a cure for being a mutant and things like that, and people being afraid of being near mutants because they think
a cure for being gay. Pray the gay away is a thing, and so they're like, we can cure you and make you better. Yeah. And that. Yeah, even though X-Men 3 was a terrible, terrible movie, it is based on Joss Whedon's run of X-Men, which deals with the cure and was most definitely an analogy to to gay rights and stuff. What else do we have on here? Star Trek Beyond. Who saw the Star Trek Beyond trailer?
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it. It wasn't on our Star Wars.
I saw it, but I honestly, they had so many good trailers on there. I can't even, I know that Simon Pegg's in it. I'm always on board with Simon Pegg.
It's almost like the director sabotaged the trailer.
A little bit. Well, I
mean... Beastie Boys, it was good.
Topher said the whole time he saw that, he was thinking about the music video. Yeah. For Beastie Boys. But, just, nothing from it really, for me, it didn't feel like it, stuck out the way that the other movie trailers had.
Yeah, no, it felt like they were trying to do a Guardians of the Galaxy. And Guardians of the Galaxy is not Star Trek.
Chris Pratt is not in it, so you can't.
There's a different Chris.
Can't ever do it.
Yeah. Star Trek is supposed to be asking these questions, but dealing with it by having, the crew go to a different planet and sort of dealing with a different issue, and it's usually some social issue of the time. And the new Star Trek movies haven't done that. They were turned into Star Wars movies, basically. They were turned into fun movies.
Yeah, although they do still deal with Spock that way, just like they did in the show too, about him, not really relating to human emotions and things like that.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the best sci-fi touchstone would be Data in Next Generation, or Seven of Nine, who was in Star Trek Voyager. I don't know if you guys ever saw Star Trek Voyager.
No, I didn't.
But Seven of Nine was basically a reformed Borg.
Oh,
so she was brought back in, and she just did not experience the world the way everybody else did. She was trying to understand.
She became a Borg when she was like 5 or 8 years old.
Yeah, five or something old, and she all she had was that number. Like she was a number for the Borg, so she was 7 of 9 of her crew. And she was a really interesting character. And it really like having a character who's an outsider like that and trying to become human again. It also allows for us to take a look at ourselves and really ask questions as why we behave the way we do. Like what little weird things that we do. Like, well, why do you do that thing? Like that's an odd custom. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's a lot of stuff that we do as humans that's just kind of weird. That science fiction movies kind of poke fun at and sort of point out, like, you do realize that this is just kind of idiosyncratic and odd, right? Yeah. Like it doesn't make any sense why you do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually what I felt like the Transformers movies were missing. Like those would have been good movies if they actually took time to make them science fiction movies and not just robots fighting robots.
Or not only that, but the human interactions in those movies killed them for me. Like I hated any time that Megan Fox is on screen. I'm just like, you are obviously there for one reason, to pull like the male demographic, the like young male demographic for what you look like, and that's not what the Transformers are. She was just a total waste of time.
Yeah,
Michael Bay is
a misogynist, and I fucking hate Michael Bay.
And that's why she wouldn't do the other movies, was the way he treated her.
He treats women like props.
When she was first introduced,
like
I think it was the first one. I don't remember because I've only seen those each once.
Leaned up against a car.
When
I remember that vividly.
She's basically on top. I bet you did. She's on top of a motorcycle, like fixing it in the most awkward way possible, like and perched, and it was panning around her.
They just wanted to make sure that you could see her ovaries.
I saw them. It was nice, but no, I just was just like that whole time. My eyes were rolling in the back of my head. Were like I thought it would never come back again. Like I was never going to see it again.
They actually rolled all the way back around.
Yeah, it was like a full
Exorcist.
loop. Yeah, Exorcist style. I was vomiting everywhere.
It felt like a Carl's Jr. commercial.
I know. I fucking hate
Like
Carl's
that
Jr.'s
moment, like
commercials.
seriously, it just like her just like leaned over the hood of this, old classic car, seductively fixing it.
Makes me-
It's such a fucking Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
commercial.
I don't even want to think about Carl's Jr. commercials right now. Like
I fucking
so
hate
much
Carl's Jr.
anger when they
So
come on.
anti-sci-fi.
So not sci-fi.
Is this a feminist podcast?
Those Carl's
I
Jr.
like
burgers
science
need
fiction
some microchips.
No, that's why I love it.
Like Ex Machina.
Like Ex Machina. Ex Machina is Maren. Tell us about Ex Machina. I'm sure you've seen it more than once.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, this guy creates this AI and in the form of a woman, and then he hires someone to test her and see if she passes. I forgot what it's called, but
Turing test.
that test to see if she passes as artificial intelligence, if she can actually make you think that she is sentient. And it's very. I don't want to give away any details.
It's quite a battle of wills.
Yeah.
It's a very intense movie and disturbing.
Very disturbing. Really interesting. It is, there are a lot of feminist elements of it shows a woman basically in captivity. She is created. She's a created person, but there are all those feminist ideas in there of her being in captivity and being treated like, not a person.
Like a toy.
Yeah, like a toy, exactly.
Yeah. So let's look at.
It makes me think of Blade Runner, though, with the way that the robots or androids. I don't remember. It's been so long since I've read and or seen it.
Replicants.
Thank you.
And how they're basically tested, and the way that they react to like situations, like they're being told a story.
Yeah.
And how they don't know how to react. From what I remember.
It's trying to find out if they have empathy.
Right.
And the idea is that they're not old enough to have learned. Or understand what empathy is because they're essentially children, and because they're engineered to only live 6 years.
I think it's 4 years.
4
but
years, yeah. Thank you.
I like what you.
Sorry, it's my.
I like
favorite.
what you know.
That's
Don't be
fine.
sorry. It makes
This
me
is
smile.
good.
It's my favorite
you could
sci-fi
be a
film.
nerd about it. That's fine. Oh, you are aware that the sequel's coming out, right?
Oh, I remember hearing about that. I
Yes.
haven't read about
There a
it. Though.
It
sequel
is directed
to
by Dennis Villeneuve, the guy that did Sicario and Enemy
Okay.
and Prisoners.
There's no book though.
That's okay.
Okay.
But Ryan Gosling is the main actor.
You brought me back again. You brought me back again. Sold. All right.
Sold.
If you're interested in reading the book about Blade Runner, what was it called?
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Yeah.
Do Androids Dream of Electric
Philip
Sheep?
K. Dick.
They also have the novelized version of the movie, which is different.
Read Philip K. Dick, everything he's ever written. He's my favorite science fiction author.
Graphic novel adaptation of it. Yeah.
Oh,
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
Which is super
that'd be
cool.
great.
Yeah.
There's most of great science fiction is in books. I think everyone here has read Ender's Game.
Yes.
I haven't actually.
Okay. Ender's Game is about
Get out of your own house.
Bye.
Ender's Game is about the government sort of taking and using young children to wage their wars for them. So it's basically about them sort of losing their humanity at an early age and sort of losing their childhood. And the first one is a lot about xenophobia, and it's about people treating people different because they're treating people bad because they're different. Ender, the main character, is the youngest person in battle school, and so because he's younger and smarter than other people, he's treated terribly and he's bullied. And it's really a great analogy for just young nerds sort of growing up and having to dealing with being bullied because they're different than other people. In the end, you find out that the book is about something completely different.
I was afraid you were going to say what happened. Like, don't do it.
It's about something completely different, but it deals with xenophobia in such a great way. It's really disappointing to know that Orson Scott Card is a fucking bigot.
It's just best not to even think about that because it hurts me.
And it's as if he doesn't actually understand the books he's writing, because the subtext of his books is so not how he actually feels. And that's fucking weird.
But he can write that.
He is such a conflicted, fucked up person that he can write a book that's as compelling and as good as that book series and not believe a fucking word that he wrote.
Although
it's crazy.
I do find that not completely surprising. To get into more of a like culture studies or philosophical discussion, a lot of people, part of any sort of minority, might also be bigots towards another minority because our society sort of trains us to look at other people that are different instead of looking at the big picture, like patriarchy or our society in general that is actually causing us to pit each other against each other. The actual bigger issue is overlooked.
Yeah, we actually talked about that in the I think the 8th episode of 4-Letter-Nerds. We talked about the rise of nerd culture and that was sort of brought up that Brittany was saying that she was hoping that there'd be a point where there isn't a point where people just stop sort of treating people as less than and treating them as that we're all similar. And I was like, I don't think it's going to happen because people are genuinely just more likely to want to feel superior or feel like they are a part of something, and so whenever they feel like they're a part of something, they tend to exclude other people and other things, and it has to do with the tribal nature of people in general. And I think that's a flaw in human nature that that we'll always be fighting and trying to overcome, and I hope we can.
Yeah, we need to fit people into categories. If we don't understand what they do and why they do it for the reasons that we do it, then they're obviously doing it wrong.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Speaker for the Dead, which is an Orson Scott Card series.
Second book.
The second one, which is actually, I read that before Under Shadow.
Yes.
And that book was a game changer for me. I haven't reread it in years, and I've been really wanting to so I can re-experience it. But it made me reevaluate my understanding of what we see in our universe, our understanding of everything from A to Z, of the way we exist, why we grow the way we do, what we can learn from our world is because of I don't want to give anything away with the story.
Well, it's basically us watching another culture from the outside and not understanding what they're doing.
Right.
And not understanding that what they're doing is best for them and what they believe in, and us looking at it from the perspective of what we know and not what not what they know.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't their culture, their society doesn't fit into our mold. So something is wrong with their culture versus being no, that's that's the way that they grew. That's their understanding of existence. They don't fit into ours, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, so true. Okay, so we can look at we talked about Blade Runner a bit, Next Generation. I think one of the movies that kind of does a good job of actually, I'm going to skip The Matrix. I was going to have with The Matrix, but The Matrix doesn't really ask those questions as far as what makes you human.
Yeah, it's more of questioning reality.
Yeah, reality and what we know of it.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily just about what makes you human. So let's skip that one. Almost Human.
Well, actually, one movie I was thinking of is, I'm not sure if you guys remember it. It's actually had a TV show too. It came out in 1988. Remember the movie Alien Nation?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're bringing that back too.
They are?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Alien Nation is actually kind of similar to District 9 is kind of a
but they actually kind of integrate them.
Yeah, they're sort of integrated in society, and they have their own abilities, and they're different in a lot of ways. The show kind of follows the movie, and then the show that kind of followed these partners, these two guys who are sort of put together.
Yeah, they're cops.
A human and then one.
The things are called like newcomers or something.
Yeah,
like that.
one of the newcomers, and just sort of them dealing with trying to understand each other, and it was a really interesting show, and very much ahead of its time.
I think the movie came out in 1988.
Yeah. And then the show showed up on Fox like shortly after that, and
like 2 or 3 seasons.
2 or 3 seasons, yeah.
Fox kills everything that is good and beautiful about.
Well, yeah, they do, but they also do it because they don't have the money to spend on things that are good for longer than as long as they need to.
They spend a lot of money on their news programs, but that's different.
But I was going to talk about it. But Brian wanted to talk about Almost Human. Which Brian, you want to tell us about what Almost Human was?
Almost Human is a TV show. Actually only lasted 1 season.
Yeah. And Michael Ealy.
And Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, yeah.
Yeah, Carl Urban's a cop. And the police force, they have like robots, androids, cyborgs. I forget what they call them exactly.
Synths, I think they call them.
It's part of the force, and he didn't like the way the synths put priority of somebody's lives.
Yeah,
so
he saw them as super just inhuman, and he totally looked down on them because they're robots.
Yeah,
basically.
and he got partnered with one. It was like a prototype, and like he's like the most closest to human as you could get in that world. And the whole show is about them solving crimes and kind of learning about each other.
Yeah, and it was cool. It had a lot of echoes of. There was a lot of like Blade Runner references in it, and
they mentioned Bitcoin a lot.
Yeah,
I think I remember seeing like some of the commercials for that and stuff. Yeah, that looked really.
Yeah, it had a lot.
It had potential.
It had a lot of potential. Yeah. It had a lot to thank from Isaac Asimov, and the iRobot series and the Elijah Bailey, Ardino Olivas series. If you guys have read, did you read any of that robot series at all? I just reread those. And the setup is essentially the same. Basically, a human is a sort of xenophobic human detective is paired with a robot to help solve a crime. And this is in time when Earth is very robot phobic, and they have a section of Earth people have sort of gone on to like populate the space, and they're called spacers, and so they have like. They're spacer overlords, or like the powerful people, and so all the Earthlings are kind of packed into like these giant like mega cities, and like kind of in a sardine can. And so like there's this really xenophobic thing going on between the spacers and the Earth people, because the spacers look down on Earth people as being unfilthy, as like being filthy and unclean, but it's only because they don't live on Earth, they don't have any of the antibodies. Like, so basically, coming into contact with an Earthman will kill them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they just don't have the immune system to be able to deal with it. And it was really interesting because you kind of watch this human character sort of become friends with this robot, even though he hates robots, and he slowly comes to see this robot as human, and he dies between the third and the fourth book, and the robot ends up sort of taking up his mantle and working to be human as much as possible, like to basically help and save humanity. Because basically robots have to abide by the 3 laws, and the 3 laws are: you can never harm a human, you can never do anything or allow anything to happen that may cause a human harm, and I forgot the 3rd law was, but the laws are basically about protecting humans. And so the robots that were in there was Ardina Oliva, who was the robot who worked with this detective, and then like another one that they picked up that ends up like being able to control minds. Sorry,
The important stuff.
my voice started cracking because I wasn't drinking any water and I was talking way too fucking much.
Please help.
For you.
Please send help.
Yes, please send help. They're my prisoners. Fuck you.
We've been here for 8 days.
You will piss yourself. You will not get up.
Damn.
Anyway, I am a tyrannical asshole. You can call me Trump. What was I talking about? Oh, the iRobot, not the iRobot series, the Asimov's robot series. And basically the robots are trying to sort of save humanity without hurting humans, and it's like them sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place because they have to always follow the orders of a human, regardless. Like, because the humans are their masters, and so they have this sort of huge thing to overcome in order to save the world. Because if they don't, thousands and thousands and millions of people are going to die. And it's a really really great book series, and it ends on a really great note. But I recommend, if you guys have not read those books, to read them.
Added it to my list.
If you guys haven't read those books, you should read them.
Pending.
Like I said, I just reread all 4 of them, and the first 2 are good and fun, and the last 2 are fucking awesome. All right, so someone else talk about Halo.
Sorry about that. Halo is a really good story for a sci-fi story. For one, they have both the video game that a lot of people have played, and then they did also go back and write books to kind of fill in before the games, during the games, in between the games.
I hear the books are really good.
They actually are. I've only read the ones that lead up to the games, because once it got to the one that was the games, it was just like, well, okay, I've already played this. I've already played this. I know this story very, very well.
I played the first 2 and they were really great.
Yeah, no, they were really great. I only recently caught up with 3 and 4. But it's a really good story because, for one, you have the whole aspect of the Spartan Project, which is, pretty much these kids that were taken from a young age, selected for whatever reasons. Usually in the book they kind of show that it's, kids that show leadership, that show, just certain qualities that they're looking for, and pretty much experimented on for the rest of their lives. And then also, like, once they're adult, you kind of see with the AIs that are in the series, like Cortana, kind of that question of like, well, how human are they? Because Master Chief pretty much falls in love with Cortana throughout the series, and it really brings that whole question around.
Yeah, what is human? Like, and I think what movie that came out last year, 2 years ago, Her.
I love Her.
I
loved Her.
Yeah. God darn it.
So good.
Yeah, that was a great look at what is, like, can an AI be considered human? Like, is an AI a sentient enough being? Like, if you can fall in love with something,
a bodiless AI.
A bodiless AI. Yeah. Does that, like, what does that mean? Like, where does that take us? And one of the things that science fiction kind of looks at too is, like, if your consciousness does not have a body, like, if you don't have a body, are you still human?
Yeah.
That's another, not even just for sci-fi. I think that movie is amazing as a queer film because it shows a type of relationship that is not accepted and is really different and unique, but it's real, it's genuine.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a movie that, people could show in LGBT studies classes and stuff. I think it's really important for a lot of different avenues of life. I love that movie.
Yeah, Sadly, I have not seen it. I really want to see the movie. I haven't seen it.
I bought it knowing I would love it. I still haven't watched it because I'm an idiot.
It is really good because it really does bring to question like if you don't have a body like that, it makes it very open and ambiguous to where it can pretty much it can be anything, it can be anyone, it can
Yeah, there's some scenes in the movie I want to talk about, but we'll just spoil it for Amy.
Brian.
Yeah, and
I think you may know. I'm probably going to be talking about is where they try to experiment.
Yeah.
So basically, the question is, are you is a person, is a sentient being, are they a sum of their experiences, or do they have to have a physical form like a physical form with a specific face to make them human? And I feel like that's something that's actually that's actually explored in like Orphan Black, because in that question is when there are more than one of you, are you a person? Like if you're a copy. And this is kind of what Blade Runner looks at too, is if you're a copy of something, are you actually sentient? Like are you actually human?
Or
there's I actually haven't seen Orphan Black, but there's also an episode of Rick and Morty that kind of touches on a similar one where you have someone that can pretty much project themselves into multiple bodies.
Oh yeah.
And so when you fall in love with that person, it's like which one are you falling in love? It does very much.
Or is it a completely different entity?
Yeah, exactly.
Its own
like
person separate from both of the others.
Yeah, it really does.
that reminds me of the episode of Buffy where Spike gets a robot Buffy. I've thought about this the whole time. It's like he's not in love with robot Buffy. She is just a representative of what he can't have at that part.
She's basically just a blow up doll.
Exactly. She can't be what he loves in Buffy.
They also do that in the Venture Brothers.
Yes.
The kids, they're all like clones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we actually don't even know like how many numbers of clones there actually have been.
Because they keep dying. Yeah. So good. And also with Dollhouse, the fact that if you remove their personality, their memories, and implant new ones, like which version of themselves are they really? And the fact that Echo, she basically had her own personality. That basically after a combo of all the personalities together, she develops her own personality that's unique from what she's had before. Like, which is the real her?
Yeah, she's no longer Caroline. She's Echo.
Mm.
Yeah, those of you who haven't seen Dollhouse, you've made a mistake.
God, please watch it.
No one really watched that show. They kind of give it a lot of shit. The first 5 episodes are not very good.
They're slow.
They're slow. They're kind of formulaic. But once you hit that 6th episode, the show really picks up. And it's really, really good.
There's a lot of depth to it.
They cram about three seasons worth of show, or 3 or 4 seasons worth of show into 26 episodes, and it does a great job of asking those questions. Is if your mind is completely erased and the body is being used to house other consciousnesses. Conscious nigh. Thank you.
No.
English major.
Conscious nigh. What part of you is human? Like, who are you? Are you the being that's controlling you currently, or are you something completely different?
Are you uploaded on the computer?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And like Maren said, like Echo is developing her own identity that is outside of the person that she was. And
I said that.
Yeah, the character. Oh, you said. Oh, I think okay. Well, the 2 ladies double teamed on that one.
Son of a bitch.
What about Amy?
There's always been like a question on Star Trek where people have brought up when people use the transporters. Is when you use the transporters, is it the same person that comes back out?
Yeah, and I felt like The Prestige, which is in my opinion,
die like a new person.
Love that movie.
Is in my opinion Christopher Nolan's best movie. The Prestige. I'm gonna say it right now. That's Christopher Nolan's best movie. Batman. None of the Batman movies are. It's not Interstellar. It's the fucking Prestige.
I completely agree. I agree with you.
But that movie asked us an amazing question which and it looks at it two different ways. I'm going to go and assume that you guys have seen that movie. If you haven't seen that movie,
it's been out for a while.
it's too fucking bad.
Crawl out from under your rock.
Basically, can you have two people living the life of one person?
Two twins.
Are they still human?
One set of twins.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is it possible for two people to live the life of one person? And then the other one is it's about the battle of wills between the two magicians, and essentially Hugh Jackson, the magician, ends up figuring out a way to transport himself, and every time he transports himself, all he's doing is cloning himself and then killing the other one.
He has to constantly kill himself.
Yeah, he's constantly dying every single time, and so every time he pops up again and goes through that, it's a new person, and the other one's dead, and that's fucked up.
That is fucked up. It's terrifying.
That question was asked about basically can you live the lives as multiple people in a much simpler way in the 90s in Multiplicity.
Yes,
That movie's amazing.
very true.
I loved it. I don't know if it's still good.
I still shave my tongue.
That was number 3 or number 4?
Because number 4, it was the clone of the clone. That's why he was stupid.
He was number 3 of the third clone. Yeah.
I think I don't think I can top. I still shave my tongue. That was pretty great. We're gonna talk about Firefly, but I feel like we don't necessarily have to. Firefly may be its own show at some point. We'll probably just do a Firefly retrospective.
Probably should do its own show.
I know that we did a Firefly versus Star Wars talk. Maybe we can
Yes.
bring that back and talk about that now. Here in the future. So until then, do us a favor in the comments. Sort of share with us your favorite sci-fi stuffs, whether they are books or TV shows that we may have forgotten. What sci-fi do you feel? Do you connect with that sort of asks these questions about what makes us human? And signing off for
Amy,
Maren.
Liam.
Brian.
This is Dan,
What?
and don't forget that nerd is a 4-letter word. Peace the fuck out.
Bye.